Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. XRP Crypto Wolf pointing this out. Okay, Bitcoin whales, guys, now control 45.6 of the total BTC supply and continue to aggressively accumulate. Okay, so this despite the fact that, some analysts are suggesting that we could go lower. So just listen to this. According to data from crypto analytics agency Glassnode, Bitcoin whales, those who hold more than 1,000 BTC, are not changing their ways at the time of the current crypto market capitulation and traditionally accumulate large amounts in their wallets. These subjects act aggressively and buy 140,000 Bitcoin on average every month directly from exchanges. Such dynamics led to a concentration of 45.6% of the total Bitcoin supply in whales wallets, which equals about 8.69 million Bitcoin, not $8.69 million, 8.69 million Bitcoin. So guys, here is the tweet from Glassnode. Small Bitcoin holders with greater than 1 Bitcoin have been adding to their balance as well as the most aggressive rate since March of 2020, which you guys can imagine, March of 2020 was back in here. This capitulation event really triggered a lot of people to accumulate more Bitcoin. Shrimps, which is what Glassnode is dubbing them, are adding at 36.75 thousand Bitcoin monthly, which is about 0.2% of the circulating supply, and 1.36 times monthly issuance. So shrimps are now holding 1.12 million Bitcoin in total. But then the whales, they are still accumulating at breakneck speed, 140,000 BTC monthly, as I mentioned, and that equals about 8.69 million Bitcoin. That is the total supply. Huge accumulation, guys, for whales. So plan B here also mentioning this. All indicators are at extreme levels. Stock to flow, the 200-week moving average, RSI, realized price, etc. Generational buying opportunity, or this time it's different, as he puts in quotes here. Structural break with last 13 years. So just kind of demonstrating Bitcoin's stock to flow model, where we are now in the cycle. Just going to breeze over these real quickly just to kind of demonstrate where we are, where we were back in like 2012, 2015, 2019 at the bottom of these bear markets, and now here mid 2022. Similar if you look at the trend structure. And then this, the 200-week moving average, again, very low down here on the chart. And then Bitcoin realized cap also down in the blue, so very low on this graph. And the thing is, the more indication that we are at a bottom, the better it is. The more indicators, whenever you're taking a look at technical analysis, the more indicators you see suggesting your point means statistically the point is likely more valid. Taking a look at Bitcoin here on the daily, we can see right now it's trading at about $19,000. So a little below the former all-time high that was posted back in December of 2017 right over here. You guys can see we have been hitting that level, and we've been kind of flirting with that level, bouncing off of it once a couple of weeks ago, and then rebounding, finding support back in that level over here. So we've got all these indicators checking out. The one indicator that is not checking out is traditionally in Bitcoin bear markets, we've usually seen the market correct for Bitcoin specifically, that particular coin, 80 to 85%. And right now we're down roughly 72%, give or take. So, if we were to see this check out, if we were to see this go into kind of more clear bear territory, I suppose we'd have to get down to roughly here, this point of resistance from back in June of 2019. So roughly down and around there, which would bring us to a Bitcoin price of roughly, what would it be? Roughly $13,500. This goes for altcoins as well, guys, because altcoins are still following Bitcoin. XRP right now trading just above 31 cents, so 0.311. Holding that level of support as well. As you guys can see, old resistance becomes new support, and we can see that here, the trend from back in 2020, the spring of 2020, and then the summer of 2020. Now we're seeing XRP flirt with that level again, but now it is in the form of support rather than resistance as we saw back in 2020. What else is going on, guys? Well, CZ Binance tweeting this out. Banks are now using Bitcoin for reserves. And being a little facetious, saying probably nothing. The Bank for International Settlements to allow banks to keep 1% of reserves in Bitcoin. This is the bank of all banks, the central bank for central banks. Despite its skeptical approach to digital currencies exacerbated by the recent cryptocurrency market crash, it looks like the Bank for International Settlements intends to extend its hand to the new asset class by allowing banks to hold up to 1% of reserves in cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. So make note here, it is not just Bitcoin, it is cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. Indeed, BIS's Basel Community on Banking Supervision has made the proposal for limiting the bank's total exposure to Group 2 crypto assets to 1% of Tier 1 capital in its consultative document titled Second Consultation on the Prudential Treatment of Crypto Assets, published on June the 30th. So it gives a bit of a description. It gives an example here, Group 1 versus Group 2. The biggest takeaway, though, is the fact that they are no longer as skeptical, I suppose, as they once were to hold crypto on their balance sheet. Notably, Finbold, which is the publication here, earlier reported on the BIS using the recent crypto market collapse to affirm its skeptical attitude towards the asset class and warn about the materialization of its predictions about the dangers of decentralized finance. On top of that, the global central bank body released in early June a bulletin in which it presented its view that crypto cannot fulfill the societal role of money, listing a number of problems it perceived in the crypto and blockchain industry, including high fees and network congestion that lead to the landscape fragmentation. So, just less than a month ago, well, early June, let's call it a month ago, they were talking about crypto cannot fulfill its role as money, and there are lots of systemic problems with crypto and blockchain, and it's got to be regulated. Of course, these guys are promoting central bank digital currencies. This is the central bank for central banks, yet now they are saying 1%. Now, I mean, it's not a lot, but still 1% of their reserves can be held in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Andrew Zell also pointing that out. Everyone reading this, it is crypto and not Bitcoin specifically. So we know, for example, Bitcoin, central banks hate it because of its decentralized nature and because of the movement behind it. Because there's so much money invested in Bitcoin, the Bitcoin whales, they are a community all on their own. And, the ones that have been in it for a decade or, even 6, 7, 8 years, they have the power because they have the money backing it. So there are going to be other cryptocurrencies, obviously, that do very well. Bitcoin is still, though, noted as one of the major ones. Considering we're getting tweets like this from President Joe Biden, my message to companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump is simple. This is a time of war and global peril. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you're paying for the product, and do it now. Charles V. Payne here from Fox Business saying, this is pitiful. Nation needs bold new ideas. No blame games. Golden moment for bold ideas instead of picking on MA and PA gas station owners. John Deaton also agreeing with Charles here. This tweet by the president comes off as if he has given up and is out of options and doesn't know what else to do. And David Schwartz just pointing out the obvious here. We have to stop making mistakes. We're pacifying Putin. We're inflating the money supply on an extraordinary scale. We badly mishandled the pandemic, especially financially. We have supply chain and labor market problems that are self-inflicted. I just read somewhere recently that it was an overwhelming amount of people, Republicans obviously, but even Democrats, say that they would take up arms against the president. It was a crazy statistic. Loss of faith in government, loss of faith in this particular president has been growing over the last several months, probably even longer than that, over the last year or so. But now it's showing up in the polls. Of course, the economy, that doesn't help things along. Some, though, would suggest that Biden is just a puppet put in there by global elites in order for them to be able to crash the economy and have excuses at their disposal, like Putin. Yeah, there's a war on another continent. Putin is responsible for all this. Meanwhile, I think it's becoming very clear that the American people are not getting fooled so easily. Okay, what else do we have here, guys? This from Treviso67 here on Twitter. Tag me in this with regards to central banks now looking at China's renminbi to diversify foreign currency reserves. So this has to do, again, with the economy. Dollar dominance could gradually decline as a result of geopolitical flare-ups. If we just take a look down here, you can see central banks are looking towards the renminbi to diversify their foreign currency holdings in a sign that political flare-ups could chip away at the dollar dominance, or at the dollar's dominance. The proportion of central bank reserve managers that have invested in or are invested in the renminbi increased from 81% last year to 85% this year, according to an annual survey, this from UBS. And here's a quote: "We're seeing a gradual erosion of the dollar." This coming from Massimiliano Castelli, head of strategy for global sovereign markets at UBS. The picture that emerges is one of a multipolar currency system. That in and of itself screams XRP. As we know, the dollar had dominance over the entire world over the last century, roughly. and now we're seeing a split. Now we're seeing countries like Russia, for example, creating their own system, creating their SWIFT type system, doing a lot of business with China. We're talking about China's renminbi, we're talking about Russia's ruble, and how, other currencies are going to be now used for trade. So some countries turning their back on the US dollar. And this to me sounds like a lot of it is the result of world elites, global elites doing what they're doing with our financial system currently. So we're going to have backlash, and it's going to manifest in certain ways, like the Russia story, for example. Now investors and banks central banks rather, looking at China's renminbi to add more to their coffers or invest more in the renminbi. These are all stories that are interconnected in a way because, the economy's crashing. A new financial system is being built underneath our noses. I know we were expecting some kind of obvious event that would bring the system crashing down, but it's happening in bits and pieces. This is the financial collapse. I believe we're living through it, and at the end of it, we're going to be looking back and we're going to be like, yeah, that was crazy, and we kind of didn't really even know it. A new system will be implemented. It will involve Ripple's XRP, RippleNet software, but there's still a lot that's going to be going on in the meantime. Meanwhile, we're seeing the crypto companies that are still solving problems. We're still seeing them in the spotlight. This, just to kind of shift gears a little bit, VeChain and Crypto.com are on full display tonight at UFC 276 in Las Vegas. This from Watcher Guru here on Twitter. VeChain, as you guys know, is one of those cryptocurrencies that I am invested in. Crypto.com, an exchange here. They're both participants or sponsors, I suppose, of the UFC match in Vegas. There you can see VeChain down there on the statistics card graphic, also in the ring. So where are a lot of these companies? A lot of them have fallen to the wayside. I mean, we heard the other day, Three Arrows Capital filed for bankruptcy, Voyager Digital under pressure, Celsius now looking at their options. But then you have the companies like Ripple, Crypto.com, VeChain, all these other crypto-related companies. There are still a handful that are solvent, still have a lot of money, haven't over-leveraged themselves. And these are going to be the ones that are going to capture the opportunities to continue to thrive even in that downtrend. So guys, take note, make sure you are paying attention to the coins, to the projects that are thriving and surviving. These are the Googles, these are the Amazons, these are the Netflix of our time with regards to the crypto industry. Also note this, Meta has announced that it will shut down its cryptocurrency money transfer service pilot, Novi, on September the 1st. The remainder of the cryptocurrency project that Meta Platforms Inc. founder Mark Zuckerberg took a beating over from Congress is officially shutting down. Meta's Novi pilot, a money transfer service using the company's own cryptocurrency digital wallet, will end on September 1st. Both the Novi app and Novi on WhatsApp will no longer be available, the company said on their website. Starting July 21st, users will no longer be able to add money to their accounts, Novi said, advising users to withdraw their balance as soon as possible. Users won't be able to access their transaction history or other data after the pilot ends. So, bye-bye to Meta's Novi platform. I mean, I guess they had their heart in the right place, but Facebook or Meta or whatever they're called now clearly didn't get the memo from Klaus Schwab. You guys have to focus. I'm not even going to try to do the accent, but you guys have to focus on what you do best, data mining people's information, collecting people's private information, storing that. That is what the social media platforms are responsible for. Leave the cryptocurrency money transfer to companies like Ripple. Anyway, I don't know if it actually went down like that. I'm just kind of having a little bit of fun with this. But nevertheless, Novi is done. Novi is finished September 1st. And here, guys, from Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unbox, ex-SEC chief of the Division of Enforcement, guys, this is Robert Cohen. He responded to a question about the implications of the SEC losing the Ripple SEC case. This was an interesting conversation that happened the other day. I'm going to play you guys this clip. I'm going to talk about some of those implications and my thoughts on what is going on here, because I got a few clips, and based on some of the answers that I heard from some of these people, I think this paints an interesting picture for Ripple, XRP, the lawsuit, the SEC, how this could be moving forward, and some technicalities that I think we should be paying attention to. First, listen to Robert Cohen's response with regards to the implications if the SEC loses.
And let me take the opportunity to answer one of the questions from the audience. So a question from the audience we got was on this topic. What are the implications once the outcome of Ripple XRP is decided? So the way I would comment on that is when I was supervising the group, we were very careful about what cases we litigated, because in such a new area, one bad decision could really have a programmatic impact. And there was one case, it was a small fraud case where the commission initially lost the motion for preliminary injunction. And it was in, Law 360 and all the industry publications the next day. SEC's losing. And, it was a surprise. It was a very straightforward case. We thought it was somebody who made up a fake blockchain regulator called the Blockchain Exchange Commission, and put the SEC's address as the address for this fake regulator. But it was all over the news that the SEC's losing. Well, a motion for reconsideration was filed and the judge reversed the decision. And that got, not as much news as the initial decision got, but it kept the track record clean. So on the question of the implications of Ripple XRP, I mean, on the one hand, it's only one case, it's only one judge, it's district court. But for such a new innovative area where people are following, as Christy went through those decisions, people are reading every line of every decision. There's a lot on the line, I think. There's a lot on the line for the program. If the commission loses a big case on a significant legal issue, it's not necessarily binding. It's one district court, unless it gets appealed. But to lose a prominent case, I think, has the potential to have a significant impact on the program.
So he's coming out and saying this, Robert Cohen. He is, again, the ex-SEC chief of the Division of Enforcement. So he's worked there. And he said, if this is a negative outcome for the SEC, this is going to have negative implications on the crypto industry as a whole. So this, I think, confirms the fact that the SEC has to get it right and why they're dragging this court case out for so long. I'm thinking behind the scenes they are likely trying to come up with new innovative ways in order to convince the judge that they are correct and that Ripple has been selling illegal securities since 2013. That's just one part of it. Okay, so then we have this. Another great tweet here from Crypto Enthusiast on Twitter. It is confirmed more lawsuits are coming. This is Stephen Butchholz, Assistant Regional Director at the SEC, and listen to what he has to say.
On the crypto side, yeah, the addition of about 20 people up to 50 total is a very significant addition of resources. And Matt, you read the release like a hawk. It does mention trial counsel, and that is a significant development. I view that as significant. I'm sure in your prior experience you recognize the significance of that. And I agree that there are questions in the space that likely will litigate. So I think it wouldn't be surprising to anyone who's been following the cases that there will likely be litigated cases. And I think in our view, that's good. That's, there will be questions that may be so important to certain projects that we'll let a judge weigh in.
More litigation, more lawsuits are coming, obviously. Who knows when they'll start bringing about these lawsuits. That's going to be strategic, too. Are they going to do it before the Ripple XRP verdict? And maybe this is why they are prolonging the Ripple SEC case, because they know they're going to lose it and they want to be able to sue other companies before that verdict comes out. So they have, at least a case against these other companies and do not have to rely on a negative precedent from the Ripple XRP case. Because that could influence, that could actually affect the other cases that they're planning. So maybe that's why they're dragging out the Ripple case. Just a thought here. We know more lawsuits are coming, and the SEC obviously hungry for turf. So, just listening to what these guys are saying, the Ripple case is going to have a dramatic impact on the crypto industry. And yes, definitely more lawsuits are indeed coming. There was also this point here that I wanted to bring up. Someone brought this up. XRP Easy on Twitter pointed this out. This is a clip from Brad Kimes' show. Something to note here, and I'm not being ironic with my wording, how Ripple wins when something is a note, in quotes. And so she cites the Reeves test here. Brad, I think, is onto something. I'm going to play you guys a little bit of this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what is a note in another clip. First, let me play you this clip here describing what a note is from the Lawcast YouTube channel.
Security.
Wouldn't it be nice to know the details of the lending program of Ripple if it was less than a 9-month note? That would kick it out of the security classification now, wouldn't it?
Also, numerous courts have carved out exemptions over the years for commercial paper type notes, such as purchase money loans and privately negotiated bank loans. Analyzing and bringing together the line of lower court opinions, the U.S. Supreme Court in Reeves versus Ernst & Young adopted the family resemblance test to determine whether a note is a security. Under the family resemblance test, one must start with the presumption that a note is a security.
Right there. Under the family resemblance test, one must start with the presumption that the note is a security. Is there any greater presumption than suing Ripple and over XRP by the SEC that is the greatest example of starting from the presumption that something is a security first? Listen, I firmly believe that this case was brought on as a weapon, but there's an opportunity within this to slingshot us to legal clarity. And I believe it's this case being the obvious greatest example of how to start with the presumption of XRP being a security and working it through the resemblance test to prove that it isn't, and possibly with the help of the Ripple lending program. Now, let's get back to Matthew Solomon because I need you to see the rest of this.
Okay, and so the clip basically ends there, but this whole definition of a note, 9 months in, presumed as a security if it is a note. So take that into consideration when watching this next clip here. Okay, now this is Christy Littman. Okay, she's the chief cyber unit at the SEC, and Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unbox brought this up. You've been speaking about this when something is a note. Is this SEC official speaking about XRP? She mentions charging an entity and 2 individuals. Okay, so does that sound vaguely familiar to you? Then she says they found one of those tokens to be a note.
I talked earlier about the label being inaccurate at times, and one example is our case against an entity and 2 individuals for this offer and sale of digital assets through what they called the DeFi money market, but which turned out not to be decentralized at all. The commission order charged 2 tokens in that action, 2 tokens that the first was a governance token. It purportedly gave holders certain voting rights and a share of excess profits, and the ability to profit from the tokens by reselling them into a secondary market. And so the OIP, or the order instituting proceedings there, found that this token was an investment contract under Howey. And the other token, the order actually found that it was an investment contract under Howey, but also a note under the Reeves analysis. And so it's a notable order for that reason, because it analyzes both tokens, and specifically with respect to the M token, which this was a token that you could purchase using a specified digital asset, and then it paid a set interest rate. And so the order there, I think, is notable because it does show that we did analyze the token under both of those tests.
So charging an entity and 2 individuals, is this Ripple and XRP? Well, doing a little bit more digging, it looks as though it is not. It looks as though it is this particular case. The SEC talks a little bit about it in a blog post they posted on their official website back in August of 2021. So this has to do with DeFi money market. Brad down here just also responding, great find. She's talking about the DeFi money market case. The SEC lawyer in my clip referenced the same case. We've got a big rabbit hole just waiting. Whodad also bringing this up. Good catch. They have always mentioned XRP possibly being a note under the Reeves test. Looks like a decision may have to be made already behind closed doors, and we are just sitting on our hands waiting for their asses to hurry up and announce something. But Wheezy here saying, she mentions 2 tokens though, so I do not get it. Unless there's a second governance token, then no, it's not about XRP. This coming from Fixter here on Twitter. And Mike Manfield responding, I remember Brad saying in an interview, we've got another coin token we can use. It was just before or at the beginning of the SEC case, but I was thinking, crap, Ripple's got another coin and they're going to stop using XRP and I bought the wrong one? Okay, so, I don't think that's the case. All things that get you thinking, though, considering there is still this issue of the note classification, also understanding how much of an impact this case is going to have, as even former SEC officials are saying it loud and clear. Anyway, that's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.